It is coming up to 15 minutes away from 3 o'clock here on the platform as we talk some rugby and Super Rugby back in action, of course, tomorrow. Important couple of games for all of these teams at the top and, I guess, for that matter, the teams at the bottom. There's no promotion relegation in Super Rugby, is there, which is a point that some have made, might inject a little more enthusiasm and interest into the competition if teams were to head south if they didn't perform well enough. But at the moment, things stay exactly the same for next year. Whether the competition changes next year or not is another matter. But anyway, with us this afternoon as our guest is Brodie McAlister, the Crusaders hooker.
And I was lucky enough to grab Brodie this morning. I was about to say Brodie McAlister this morning. The Crusaders have their media sessions so early in the day. It is ridiculous. It's like 7:30 or 8 a.m. in the morning.
And so you very kindly, we should point this out, this is the very kind humanitarian side of this producer, which is very unusual in radio producers. They're usually cold and very kind of
nasty,
clinical, nasty people.
Callous.
Don't like the egos of these people behind the microphone, but not Lockie. He's very different. He comes from a very different background. And so he thought, I can't really ask Telfer to get out of bed, old bloke, and thread his way through hours of traffic.
Needs his beauty sleep.
Yeah, interrupting his beauty sleep. So he kindly got up at some godforsaken hour, drove up from Te Awamutu where he lives, and interviewed Brodie McAlister at 7:15 or something this morning. Yeah. So thank you publicly. I want to thank you. And yes, and the extra beauty sleep has helped.
Oh, I'm glad. I noticed it in your voice and your attention today, Telf. But I was lucky enough to speak to Brodie this morning and just started the interview by saying the performance against the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs came away with the win, and it was back and forth towards the end of the game. But it felt like, for the most part,
it's a very long question, but carry on. Yeah,
it felt like, for the most part, that actually you guys, the Crusaders, were the better side.
Yeah, we actually took a lot away from that game. There's just a lot of wee moments that we've reflected on, and that's where we probably lost the game. So there's just wee things to tweak, but Chiefs are a quality side this year, and those high-pressure games, those big moments, that's where games are won and lost, and yeah.
What have those moments been specifically that you and the coaches have worked through?
Main one's probably around that set piece right at the end. As a forward's point of view, probably just nailing those little areas, probably around that scrum, couple of scrum penalties at the end of the game, just allowed them to get back down in our area of the field. So probably, just those wee moments there.
One thing I felt watching the game was that it felt almost test match level, where the set piece was near impeccable, as you say, there right up until the end there. I mean, as a hooker as well, I mean, you're right at the front of the scrum there, you're all part of that. How frustrating can that be when you feel like you've got 90-95% of the match, you've pulled it off perfectly, and then it comes down to that last moment where you just didn't get it quite right.
Yeah, no, that is spot on there. Was talking to the other boys on the field as well that played more minutes, that it was test-like level, but that it, like a test match, that those are the wee moments that it come down to. And yeah, quite frustrating when you're on the field and that does happen. And yeah, there's probably watched that scrum about 100 times over, reviewing it. So yeah, some good things to improve on for the rest of the next 5 weeks leading into finals, so that will have us in good stead, I think.
This weekend you guys have the Western Force, but I sort of want to talk about the season so far, Brodie. I mean, it's 6 wins and 3 losses. It's not too bad, but many people from the outside looking in will be saying, we're used to the Crusaders being at the top of the table. We're not used to seeing them in 5th. How have you guys, as the playing group, viewed this season so far?
We've had our moments of brilliance, and then I think that Fiji game, going over and playing over there, it's pretty tough for the boys, just a different environment.
Well, it's funny you bring up the Fiji and Enduro game, because I mean, if you take that game out of it, it just feels like it hasn't been too bad a season, because other than that, it's just 2 losses to the Chiefs, who are way out in front and just look like a different beast this year. So we saw it a little bit last year with you guys heading into that final against the Blues. There might be a little bit, flying under the radar. Does it feel like you guys are sort of heading into that space where people aren't talking about you as much? There's other teams to take the pressure off you. Maybe you are flying under the radar a bit?
Yeah, probably. Probably looks like that. We're probably are flying under the radar. But yeah, I think for us it's starting off with a force this week, having a good game there, and really getting into that 5 weeks, and then get into the finals. That's where must-win games need to come out, and I think that's where the Crusaders, what we do really well is in that finals period, nail those big moments.